All right, Jumbo Warriors. Welcome to week number 8. Number 8. So before we get started, last week I wanted to share some things with you all. I bought some. I couldn't bring everything. I'm at my parents' house, so I can't possibly bring my entire library. But I wanted to bring some hip hop literature, just to kind of show you guys some of the books that I read that confirm, my own experience. So the first book I want to show you all is this book. Now you all may say, what does this have to do with hip hop? And if you've been paying attention, you'll know that this book has a lot to do, and it really impacts a lot of us in the hip hop community. The autobiography of Malcolm X, a lot of cats that, they come from the hood. And hip hop started in the ghetto. And a lot of young brothers relate to this book. There's a book called the Dead MC Scrolls, The Lost Teachings of Hip Hop by Saul Williams. The Rap on Gangsta Rap by Brother Bakari.
My dad's name is Bakari.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Bakari Kitwana. That's not your dad, is it? He didn't write this book, did he?
No, he didn't.
Another book by Stickman of Dead Prayers called The Art of MC or MCing. All right, so that's a cool book. Here's another cool book. Now this book is used to teach hip hop at Duke University. And this hip hop is a complete analysis of Nas's first album, Born to Use Mic. Hey, nah. Yo. So we just kind of going through some books in the library. So this is a book called When Rap Music Had a Conscience. Before it came, it was all about the blinging and the guns and the materialism. And this is written by a young sister who studies cultural anthropology at the City University in New York. All right. This is another book by King's father. No, I'm just joking. My brother Bakari Kitwana. This is the hip hop generation. So a lot of times when you hear people talking about different generations, the baby boomer generation, then Generation X and Generation Y and all these things. So the hip hop generation is also dubbed as Generation X. Those of us born from 1966 to 1981. This is a book by Nelson George. If you don't know who Nelson George is, you'll find yourself agreeing with him and oftentimes disagreeing with him. But Nelson George is a author, journalist, come from the hip hop era, got around my age. All right. So that's Hip Hop America. This is his breakdown of how hip hop impacted America and how big business impacted hip hop. A lot of what we're talking about today. Here's a book, The Life and Times of Tupac Shakur. Here's a very, very popular book, a controversial book to some. A lot of people think that this is the hip hop Bible of learning hip hop history. Can't Stop, Won't Stop by Jeff Chain. He's a hip hop journalist. Talking with a lot of people like KRS-One and Grandmaster Caz was like, how does Jeff Chain write a book about hip hop and he wasn't there? So and he's really going deep, and a lot of his stuff is on point. But this is a very classic, great piece of work, even though there are some things that can be debated by Jeff Chain. I can't stop, won't stop. So if you're going to have the hip hop library, you got to have this one. This is called Ego Trip. It used to be a magazine called Ego. This is the rap list. So that's like every song that has came out from like 1979 to like 1997 or something like that. And it's just like a list. Best rap song, the best female MCs, the best, the top 20 songs about drugs, the top 20 songs about protests, so forth. So it's just a complete book of lists, hip hop lists. This is a book by a sister, a professor of African and African American Studies at Harvard University, called The Real Hip Hop. And she based this book on studying Project Blowed, which is a hip hop workshop in the early 90s in Los Angeles underground. It was a store. There was like a store that sold smoothies and health type foods called The Good Life. And the owners of The Good Life used to allow MCs and B-boys and B-girls and spoken word artists to come and share. And it really blew up. And a lot of those LA MCs careers started off from right here, right there. So hold on. I'm at my parents' house, so I know y'all can hear my mom in the background being all loud. All right, so here's an anthropology of rap from Yale University. What based on these are the lyrics to classic hip hop songs. And what I find funny about this book, they got some of the lyrics wrong. but they're supposed to be an anthology of rap. That's what you get from Yale University. It has no cover, but this is this is a book called Fight the Power by Chuck D. Okay. The front man for Public Enemy. When we're talking about classic hip hop albums, this book documents and give a breakdown of the various hip hop classic material, as we call it. The hip hop album guide. The first 20 years of beats, rhymes, and life. And this is a very interesting book that I got from Grandmaster Caz, and we'll be talking about Grandmaster Caz today. This is somebody that took his rap notebooks and made a book out of it. So his actual rhymes are in the book that they scanned and made a book out of it. The book is called Written, The Lyrics of Grandmaster Caz. And we'll talk about why he's very significant. All right. Today's conversation. And I like when MCs, hip hop aficionados that are actually hip hop artists or DJs actually write a book. So this book is There's a God on the Mic. It's supposed to be the 50 greatest MCs by Kool D himself, who is amongst most people's list of the top 50 MCs. So I just wanted to share that list before we got down to the nitty gritty, because I said I was going to do it last week and I forgot it. So I wanted to make sure I did get the opportunity to share that. All right, let's get started. Let's get started. So I want to share my screen. All right. All right, y'all. Welcome, Assad. How you doing, young warrior? Good to see you.
Yeah.
Well, Kadir Sindon, Taliki Omawale, and who is Yanif? YANF. Who is that? Yanif.
That's Ayanfe.
Yanfe. My man. Welcome. So today, y'all, we're going to talk about the commercialization of hip hop culture. There's a song that Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest says, "Rap is not pop. If you call it that, then stop." Doom, 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 doom. And we're just going to get into it. So this is a hip hop history, culture, and politics. And we always try to combine them with each title, each subject matter. But we're going to really talk about some politics and some history today. And I often emphasize that hip hop is not strictly about the music, but in order to really talk about this subject matter, we really have to delve into the hip hop music or the hip hop music industry or the rap music industry. So I remember when I signed a contract and, it said, Black Anger hereafter would be known as product. So when you sign a contract and you're a recording artist, you yourself are considered the product, and you give license to be exploited. And I don't know if you all recall when we define exploited and exploitation. So you're giving the record company a license and the go-ahead to exploit you as product. So this is the definition here. Keen, go ahead and verbalize this definition of. No, not this. We're just gonna look at that. Not this one. So basically today we're gonna talk about the commercialization of hip hop. There was a time where many of us had said that hip hop is dead. So we're gonna really delve into why that statement was made. Many of us think that hip hop culture has lost its authenticity. So we're going to examine why that is so. Secondly, if we have time, and we probably won't have time because we have an exercise at the end of the class for all you all. And again, we said rap is not pop. If you look at a lot of television today, there's some TV shows like Love and Hip Hop. Method Man has a show where he has people battling each other, and they are definitely not from the hip hop community. A lot of them are not from the Black community. And I don't know, I'm not too crazy about that show. The two key words that we're going to talk about today: commercialization comes from the word commerce, the activity of buying and selling, especially on a large scale. Keyword, large scale. Okay. Commercialization, the process of managing or running something strictly for financial gain. So if there's no money to be made, there's no commercialization, right? If you giving stuff away, you making little pennies, that's not necessarily commercialization. A lot of people get the word and the concept of capitalism mixed up with commerce or just, a free market. Commerce or the exchange of goods is just doing business. But when you exploit people's labor, talent, energy, not to their gain, but a lot of times to their detriment, but to the gain of the 1%, that is capitalism. So we must understand that commercialization is talking about commerce, buying and selling and exploiting on a large scale, all right, to appeal to the masses. King, give us this outlook here on culture and the commercialization of culture.
Culture may be defined to include all those things which enable people to comprehend the beauty, the poetry, and the essential truths of life. To some people, the word culture implies attending concerts and looking at art galleries. These and similar activities are not the sole or even indeed the most important in culture.
Right. Cultures, we talked about it before. When we talking about re-Africanization, we talking about delving deep into African culture. It is beyond, hey, we going to dance. All right, so dance is part of our culture, but how do you engage, interact with each other? What is your family structure at home? Your family makeup only consist of the natal family, mom, dad, my brothers and sisters and everybody else, later for y'all. African structure of a family is extended. Aunts and the uncles are often called mama and baba, right? They're just as vital and important in your life as your biological parents, right? Your cousins, and often in many African societies, are known as your brothers and sisters. You don't even call them your cousin. And words like uncle, aunt, and cousins started becoming more used with the infiltration of European culture. I just noticed I got a typo there. There used to be a brand name of fashion called FUBU, for us, by us. I had two brothers, and I like that, and I wish we could still wear some FUBU. I reiterate, a lot of times when we talk about hip hop, we only talk about DJing, MCing, breaking, and graffiti. These things are the art form of hip hop culture. All right, but we also know that hip hop is fashion, language, knowledge, the beatboxing, and entrepreneurialism. Entrepreneurialism can be said when we are handling your business for the culture by those inside the culture, that you are benefiting from that business, not GE or Honeywell or DuPont or some of these other Fortune 500 billion-dollar industries. So hence, what we're talking about today is the problem, that the commercialization of hip hop is not necessarily for us by us. It's by outsiders who attach themselves to the culture and they become extremely wealthy. Assad, go ahead and handle this slide here.
Okay, where's the meaning? What is being presented to the world, and what is being presented to the world is not what the true meaning of hip hop, lying beneath all of this commercialization is. It results in misinterpretation and ignorance of the history and culture behind the music. Every art form has its lowballers, but every art form also has its true poets. With the commercialization of hip hop, we can look at it from many different viewpoints. On one hand, you see the actual true art, the elements that make it an art form are often depleted and get replaced in importance by gaining money. This results in a fewer amount of artists who are actually expressing what the true meaning of the music is, and increase in artists who are ignorant to the art form that hip hop can be with the right mindset. It is as if we are watering down all the emotion and truth that should be put into the industry to increase capital gain.
Hey, that's it. So Rosalia Mavasi did this slide presentation on the commercialization of hip hop, asking is it positive or negative. There's some things on here that face value, first look at, we agree with, right? But there are some parts, I always got to break things down and dissect. She says this results in a fewer amount of artists who are actually expressing what the true meaning of music is. And I disagree with her. Before, if you can recall, I shared a statistic that said only 1 point something percent of the hip hop that we see that's projected to us that reflects the misogyny, the materialism, the violence. That is only a small amount of all the hip hop artists worldwide. So when we look at hip hop artistry on a worldwide scale, the majority of artists use hip hop for social change, to provoke and be advocates of thought, to dissect and analyze and critique their reality, their environment, government, so forth and so on, casa wa casa. So that is not necessarily true when somebody is really engaged in hip hop culture. But if you only limited to seeing what's in front of you, what's being projected on the magazines and television, you would think this is true. But we are hip hop students today. We know that we are exposing ourselves to hip hop on a global scale, right? We talked about Rebecca Lane out of Guatemala, right? So there's a whole lot of artists like her. But we just think about hip hop in New York, or hip hop in Atlanta, hip hop in LA, like that's it. Hip hop is vastly have expanded and grown beyond. Yanfei, go ahead, take us through this slide. Uh-oh. Hold on, wait. Can't hear you. Check mic.
Your mic is off.
Check mic.
Y'all hear me?
Yes. Oh, he just muted yourself. You just muted yourself. Something happened. Okay. He's like, what's going on? I don't know what happened. No, I can't hear you. Nothing. All right, so hold on to Yanfei. You go ahead and check your microphone.
You can unplug your earphones.
Yeah, hear me now?
Oh,
Perfect.
yes, Benny.
What we are losing is the
Integrity.
integrity, and humbleness of our original hip hop records. Hip hop can have the potential to exist as an art form separate from the hip hop industry, but it is increasingly difficult with the image that the public has now accepted as what hip hop is today. The voice of Black community is failing to be represented in the way that it used to be. Hip hop has even come as far as representing products as our companions, which clearly does not stay true to our roots of hip hop.
Right. So what that word is says representing products or companies, which clearly do not stay true to. So we're going to talk about how companies are using hip hop to sell their products. So again, there are many examples of current hip hop that is very strong and very good for the people. It is simply not being projected and it is being controlled by media apparatus that do not have the best interests of black people in mind. We must always remember we are at war. And what we're talking about is hip hop, not solely as a music industry aspect, but a culture. So this lady is basically saying, this is still from her presentation. She is saying that hip hop can be separate. The culture can be separate from the hip hop industry. And I'm here to tell you, there's a whole culture out there that has nothing to do with the hip hop industry. I remember when the hip hop industry was really instigating this East Coast versus West Coast beef. And I remember talking to a fellow artist that says, man, what is happening to hip hop? He said, nothing is happening to hip hop. Look at what we're doing. We were actually doing a benefit show to increase the awareness of AIDS in the Black community and how it's impacting people of color. Disproportionately compared to our white American counterparts that were not being affected by AIDS as much, HIV, as much as the Black community and the brown community was. So here we are using hip hop as a platform to bring awareness about an epidemic that was killing us, right? And it still is killing us. and not just us in the United States, but worldwide. Kofi, take us through this slide, please.
When hip hop expanded, it became a business focused entirely on capital. Therefore, it was imperative to connect with all markets, from children to adults. And with that came the task of making more products and making them more appealing to a larger audience. This began the emergence of packaged rappers such as Soulja Boy, who became geared more toward teenagers with catchy choruses,
Mm-hmm.
choruses and simple lyrics. Those who those who have grown up on hip hop are very critical of the commercialization of the genre because they missed the golden era of hip hop, which lasted between the 80s to early 90s.
All right. So, at first read, sounds like she's on point, but I don't think it's that simple. Yes, people like Soldier Boy was young, and he seemed to kind of have some real simple elementary lyrics. But there were artists back in our day that had real elementary lyrics, right? People like Das Effects, who I love to death. We had no clue what in the world Das Effects was talking about. They were like, bum, stickity, bum, hum. I got the rope, dope, pump, pump. I can keep fighting both hum. I'm like, what are you talking about? It sounded nice. It sounded cool. But we really didn't understand what they were talking about. It just sounded nice, right? Oftentimes, the things that are the most simplest or the most layman is the most catchy. Okay. Here's a story. I put a little note down here. So y'all met my brother DJ Saeed. So DJ Saeed, he performs at different venues. All right. So he was performing at a cigar lounge. You know, it's a place that people go and smoke cigars, right? And a lot of times they're very expensive cigars. And they socialize and they chat. So these people are like 30, 40 and up. So it's actually a 40 and up club, right? And the owner hired my brother to say, hey, I want you to play music from our era, from the early 90s and the late 80s. But when he was playing that music, there were a lot of people, especially a lot of sisters in their 40s and in their 50s, that was like, yo, can you put on some Lil Yachty? I don't want to hear all this old stuff. You know, put on some Gucci Man. I don't want to hear all that old stuff, right? And he was like, I was hired to play this type of music. So it is not necessarily true that these simple packaged rappers are only appealing to teenagers. When LL Cool J came out, he was 14, 15 years old, right? Yes, he appealed to teenagers, and he also appealed to people that was in their 20s and 30s. When Salt and Pepper came out, they were teenagers. When Run DMC came out, they were teenagers, but they also were appealing to an adult audience, right? So they can't always blame the youth. All right. Let's see who's Akeem already went. Omawale. Are you with us, Omawale?
Yeah, I'm right here.
All right, but can you see this screen if you can share this slide with everyone?
Okay. When independent record labels started to be bought out by major labels, there was a drastic, noticeable change in the lyrical content of hip-hop music. Whereas previously the lyrics focused on social, political, and cultural issues, the lyrics now were becoming more hyper-violent and hyper-masculine, eventually coming together as a new genre known as gangster rap, which rose in popularity and sales while being heavily promoted by the major labels. With this shift in lyrical content also came a shift in visual content and music videos and overall image. It was more common for hip-hop videos to be seen with things such as lavish houses, with women dressed in sexually explicit style clothing, money being thrown around. The meaning and importance behind the lyrics are now put on the back burner and the central means revolve around violence becomes and hypermasculinity.
Yes. So again, from the outset, it's easy to agree with that. Okay. But I cannot say that since the beginning of rap, that all rap music was lyric focused or social, political, and cultural issues. Hip hop really started out as party music. Matter of fact, if it wasn't for men trying to get the attention of women, there would be no hip hop at all. The B-boys practiced their moves because it made the girls come around and give them, applause. And the more girls they came around, gave them attention, more they practiced to be the best, right? Really, this is where the hypermasculinity comes from. Sometimes we do these things to ourselves. But to a degree, I agree with the author of that slide. Here's a case study on Nikki Scott MC. If anybody wanted to Google her and look at her videos, when she first came out, she was representing all this B-boy boombox culture. She always had her radio. She was about fly rhymes, and she was all lyrical, and she reminded us of MC Light, Queen Latifah, and all those girls from back then. But over time, she noticed that people weren't paying attention to her. She wasn't able to sell records. She wasn't able to move units. She wasn't getting a lot of hits and likes, social media. So she started to alter her appearance. She started to go with the flow. And my sister-in-law is disappointed and disgusted because Nikki Scott MC was like one of her favorites when she first came out. My sister-in-law is hip-hop head to the core. So we started looking at the devolution of the FemC, or the female MC. So we can easily see from Sweet Tea and Jazzy Joyce here, DJ Jazzy Joyce, women, dress less provocative, right? And it wasn't always about culture and looking Afrocentric, but people like Queen Latifah did at that time, right? Because women wanted to be taken seriously. Hip hop was such a male-dominated sport, and they wanted to be taken seriously, right? But then, as the previous slide said, that hip hop became very masculinized and hypersexualized, and therefore, the sisters, to get attention, started going with the flow. So we can see here the appearance. Some of our sisters changed over the years, all the way from Sweet Tea and Salt and Pepper, and it started to change with Foxy Browns and the Little Kims to the Nicki Minaj and the Cardi B's, and there's a whole host of others that imitate, dress like, rap like Nicki Minaj, and I think there'd be no Cardi B if there was no Nicki Minaj and Little Kim and Foxy Brown. This reminds me of the Willie Lynch speech, is what I meant by sometimes we do it to ourselves. Now, there's a whole dissertation that said that the Willie Lynch letter or the Willie Lynch speech really wasn't authentic, right? It's something someone came up with to try to explain our situation. But whether it's true or not, authentic or not, it's something that I think is very true of the so-called Willie Lynch speech. And that is when it says the black slave, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on, will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of years. Basically saying, when the seed was planted, and if it's cultivated long enough, you can walk away and nature will take its course, so to speak. And the nature that we're particularly talking about is the nature of capitalism and commercialization. Associate, if you can take yourself off mute and
we got the finest breakfast you'll find anywhere, but have a look at this.
Oh, somebody has a commercial on?
So,
is that you, Associate? Dare to defy me? Associate, you can't, I don't think we can hear you with those our earphones on. You got to take the earphones out. It's not that type of earphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yay, bo.
Okay. It says in the golden era of hip hop, the most important parts of the music were the lyrics, social messages, and the talents of the artist. In today's modern day hip hop, the visual appeal of the artist and catchiness of the song seem to dominate over the actual essence of the music. Artists are now being promoted strictly to sell records, whether they believe in music or not. The genre has transitioned from pure expression of oneself to a money-hungry capitalist system. Anytime you water down a product to connect with a wider audience, you will have an overabundance of people trying to get involved. That's why so many kids are growing up wanting to become rappers as opposed to doctors.
Oh, so Assad shared something with us that I think really rings loudly with this particular slide. He talked about the imagery, how you can't just have a song. A lot of young people, we don't just listen to songs, we listen to these songs on YouTube, or the video accompanied the song. And there's a lot of messages and hidden symbols and gestures in all of those videos, because the video itself is art as well as the song. So if we can recall, we talked about the hip hop Declaration of Peace, and the seventh principle of hip hop said the essence of hip hop is beyond entertainment. The elements of hip hop culture may be traded for money, honor, power, respect, food, shelter, information, and other resources. However, hip hop and its culture cannot be bought, nor is it for sale. It cannot be transferred or exchanged by or to anyone for any compensation at any time or at any place. Hip hop is the priceless principle of our self-empowerment. Hip hop is not a product. Now, there's a whole lot of hip hop artists that did not get this memo. There's a whole lot of hip hop artists that's selling out on a daily basis. And they're falling for the scams and the schemes of corporate America. If you are an artist today, Assad, I hear Assad talking about, putting some music out. And Samad, I haven't seen Samad on here in a while. Who is Extension? What? Extension Cone? Who is that? I can't even say that. That's that guy. He
said what? What?
The name here is Extension Cone.
What?
Somebody pronounce that.
What?
Tentacion, probably.
Who is it, Kofi?
That's that rapper that died.
I can't do XX. Yeah.
Who is that? Can somebody speak up and unmute yourself and tell us who you are?
XXX Tentacion. I have no clue. Probably.
Temptation.
Oh, say it again, Assad.
XXX Temptation.
Oh.
XXX Tentacion.
Oh, who is that? Taliki?
Yeah.
Taliki, who is X Tentacion? Who is that?
A uplifting rapper.
Is he an uplifting rapper?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, Assad? So,
no, he's not.
Taliki, I want to hear some uplifting lyrics or uplifting songs from this rapper, and I want you to send them to me, okay?
Yeah, prove it.
Not now, but that's your homework.
Not his music.
Not his music?
So now it's not his music?
Oh, his music is not uplifting, you're saying?
Not his music, but...
And how is an uplifting rapper?
Okay. Well, I'm going by what Taliki said. He said that he's an uplifting rapper. I want to hear some uplifting songs from this artist. All right? All right. So Taliki, read this thing that comes from the Forbes magazine report here. Extension.
Read what?
Right here where it says Forbes 2017.
The one that says 2017?
Yes. Can you see the slide?
Yeah.
Okay, can you read this part under the logo that says Forbes, Forbes? Need you to read that passage.
In its mid-year report, Nielsen Music revealed that hip hop and R&B had overtaken rock for the first time as a dominant genre in America based on music consumption.
Right.
During this week's advertising week, conferencing in New York, that sea change in pop culture was put front presented by Universal Music Group and bands in partnership and the media company Mass Appeal and entitled Is Your Brand Ready for a Hip Hop Future?
Aside, you're a music artist. You know, you probably the oldest on the class today. What does this stuff tell you? What does this say to you? What does this speak to you? If you're an artist, you're trying to put yourself out there in this day and time. What is it telling you to do? Or what examples can you articulate?
I can't hear you very well.
What examples may you have that you can express that tackles this or show some indication of this statement?
This statement.
I mean, I was just wondering if you're aware of anything, because you're a young hip guy. You know, I'm trying to get schooled. Teach Bobby
I was trying to really get a good understanding of what it's saying. I wasn't really sure. The elements of hip-hop culture and be traded for money items. Transferred by exchange to known content. So this is trying to understand what this is, the seventh principle.
Well, no, we started out by the seventh principle, but we're talking about this part of this excerpt from an article written by the Forbes magazine. So you ever heard of Forbes? Do you know what that is?
I've heard of it, yeah, but I don't know.
So Forbes are pretty much they report on the movers and shakers of America. People that are considered the 1%. That's the people that probably have secret meetings with Donald Trump. The peoples that run a lot of these television and movie networks. The people that own Altria, who owns Philip Morris, the DuPonts of the world, the Honeywells of the world, IBM, all these big tycoon billionaires, and they report on people that's making money and how they're making the money and methods, strategies they are using to make money. And a strategy in the entertainment with entertainers is basically saying that you need to learn how to brand yourself. So if you recall at the beginning, I was saying that when you see a contract and you're going to sign a contract, that you're no longer a person. You are deemed as a product. You're a human product. And if you're going to sell something, if you're going to sell some juice, right? You hanging out with Barbara Ross, Kofi, and y'all growing guava and peaches and whatever. And you say, hey, we're going to juice this and put it in the bottle. So if you put it in a plain, clear bottle and just put it on the shelf, do you think it would sell very well? No. I see some heads shaking no. So what should you do to that bottle of juice? You got a truckload of these bottles of juices, natural squeezed juices, and it's just got a clear bottle and a cap. What should you do to make that more appealing to the masses?
Put somebody's popular on it.
You should put wrap. You should put wrap on it.
Okay.
Plastic wrap.
Some type
and
of
put colors.
So what should the plastic rap
Yes.
look like? What should the plastic rap look like?
YouTube or something like that.
Have a whole bunch of bright colors so people will notice it and stuff.
Okay.
And stuff people like.
All right, that's good, Sugar. Anybody else got some ideas how you going to appeal to people to make them want to buy?
You could. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I need.
Okay, I said you could put some popular person's face on it.
Oh,
I was gonna say that.
put a popular face, an image of some superstar or big time person like like a Lil Yachty or Jay-Z, perhaps, right? So here's a statement that's said from a marketing person for Anheuser-Busch. Anheuser-Busch makes, beer like Budweiser. And she says, if we naturally gravitate to your brand, it's like being touched by the hand of God. I want y'all to let that marinate for a second. They use people like Jay-Z, Drake, and Lil Yachty to sell their products. These are just a handful of rappers that have these rapper meets brand partnerships. We know that there's an alcohol beverage called Ciroc, and P. Diddy's face and his name is all over that product. And it kind of tells us or makes us believe that perhaps P. Diddy owns this beverage. Maybe he is the boss of manufacturing this beverage. He is an employee that's hired as something called a brand ambassador. A brand ambassador. That means be our poster child, be the face for our product and our company. Because a lot of people listen to you. You're very influential, and we would like you to get people to buy my Ross Kofi juice. Okay? That was very smart. You guys are on point. So we got to look at rap and hip hop in the early days. Okay? Rap and hip hop in the early days. So we're going to fly through some of this. Somebody give me a time check. What time is it? I don't have my phone anymore.
I think it's 155.
155?
Yeah, I think so.
152. Okay. Right. So Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, you remember I talked about this was like the #1 first rap superstar group before 1979, before the release of Rappers Delight. These guys were performing all over the place. Everybody else was trying to keep up with them. Okay? Now, while the rap thing was going on and being dominated by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, in the B-boy world, Zulu Kings were dominating in New York. You had New York City Breakers, you had the Lords of the Floor, Magnificent Force, and then in 1980-81 you had Rocksteady Crew. But these 5 brothers, who were the original members of the Zulu Nation that was helping African Bambaataa organize and build the Zulu Nation, are the beginning of hip hop. My parents back here, they forget. They're like, you in our house. So the Cold Crush brothers were gaining a lot of popularity while Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 was doing their thing. The Cold Crush brothers was blowing up in New York. And you would say their front man, the Grandmaster Caz, who was also a DJ, not just an MC, became even more popular when he was battling Africa Bambaataa in a DJ battle. So they said, man, this dude's a DJ. He's good. He's one of the best MCs out right now. So he went from being MC Casanova Fly to the Grandmaster Caz. Caz short, Casanova. All right. So Sugar Hill Records. So the Sugar Hill Gang on Sugar Hill Records. And Sylvia Robinson, who was married to John Robinson, had a son named Joey. And she was like, man, you know, I quit doing music. I got back into it, right? And I'm drying up. I'm losing my appeal. I got to do something. So I'm going to start this record label, and I'm going to put out some other artists. They really kind of wasn't catching on. Disco was really big. You know, she started out as a blues artist. Pillow Talk was a pretty big record in 1973. But she needed something to kind of take her over the top because she was getting played out. So it says in 1979, early that year, her record label, All Platinum, had fallen into financial difficulties. So she was hanging out with her son one day, and they was up in Harlem checking out, you know, the happenings, going to the clubs, and she saw DJ, who was also a DJ and an MC, Love Bug Starsky. When we hear the term hip hop, that term actually came from Love Bug Starsky. Hip hop, the hibbity, hop hop, the hibbity. That started from Love Bug Starsky. And he's DJing and rapping to the crowd, and she was like, what is this? I've never seen this before. What is this called? Right? We can't really say that it was called hip hop back then. You know what it was? Ourselves, right? She had no connection to this hip hop culture. She was not part of the hip hop community. She was an outsider. But she could not get people like Love Bug Starsky to agree on recording a record. She could not get people like Melly Mel and Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5 to record a record. They said, wait a minute, you perform with a DJ who uses records. How can we record a record using records? That's somebody else's music. They couldn't conceive of this being done. But Sylvia Robinson was a mastermind. She's been in the music industry for a long time, right? So before the Russell Simmons and the P. Diddy Combs and all that, Sylvia Robinson was the first rap music mogul. So we know the story of these guys, the Sugar Hill Gang, right? And here's the thing I always say, rap, been commercial since rappers delight. This is the beginning of the commercialization of hip hop. And we were doing this to ourselves for good or for worse. Check it out. I'm the CASA, the NOVA, the rest is FLY. See, I go by the code of the doctor of the Dixon. These reasons I tell you why, right? I'm 6'1" and I'm ton of fun. I dress to a T. So I got more clothes than Muhammad Ali, and I dress so viciously. I got body cars, I got 2 big cars, and that's so everybody knew, even A.I. Jadaika knows this song. She probably can take over and do the whole song herself, right? Because this song was so popular, it was the first time that people outside of New York heard rap music being played on the radio. And it wasn't the DJ in the studio, it was a band. But the interesting thing about this is that one of these rappers, Big Bank Hank, rest in peace, was not really a rapper at all. He was the friend and the manager of Grandmaster Caz that we was talking about. And remember we said Grandmaster Caz before it went by the name of what? Casanova Fly.
Check out the CASA, the no and NOVA, and the rest is FLY. You see, go by the code of the doctor of the mix. For these reasons, I tell you why. So I rock some vicious rhymes I never did before. She said, dang, what a fly guy. I'm in love with you. Casanova. Legend must have been true. Pioneering rapping, Grandmaster Cathy Kid Curtis Brown has long claimed that is from future shooting. Oh, wait.
Wait a minute, that's not the rap part, Zion. Zion just saw some lyrics. He's like, look, I'm gonna bust these lyrics. I can't wait. Oh, look, A-Dot is cracking up. Good job, Zion. So the big thing about this is The integrity was not there. They just cared about opportunity to make some money. You get some guys that's working at a pizza shop making pennies, the opportunity to become superstars, they're going to jump at it. And when she approached him and said, "Hey, you can rap," he said, "Yeah." And he did the rap of his friend, the guy that he was managing. And instead of being humble and say, "You know what, I'm not really a rapper, but I know somebody who is, I can get him over here in 30 minutes." He went on and stole his friend's rhyme and became a huge success. There's a term called respectability politics. Let's see, who can I, who hasn't said something? West Zion, since you had the floor, can you read us this page so that we understand what respectability politics is?
Generally speaking, with those with power operate with respectability politics. The definition is respectability politics is attempts by marginalized groups to police their own members and show their social values of being continuous and compatible with mainstream values, rather than challenging the mainstream for its failure and attempt difference. These are the type of politics that Barry Gordon threw at Marvin Gaye when Gaye wanted to record what's going on. The type of politics that manifested when the Temptations wanted to emulate Parliament and Funkadelic. Those politics had no way of waging their rappers' delight fit in just yet, but it was certain of one thing: this wasn't singing.
All right.
Funkadelic is how you pronounce it, by the way.
We got to get somebody to expound on what we just.
It's Parliament and Funkadelic.
Yeah, Parliament
Thank
and
you.
Funkadelic. You ever heard of Parliament and Funkadelic? I want you to go home and tell your mom and dad to play you some Parliament and Funkadelic.
My mom loves it.
Do Not Just Knee Deep by Funkadelic.
Go ahead, Akeem. So let's look at this term, respectability politics. God, none of you are really old to understand why they kind of talked about Marvin Gaye and this particular song, What's Going On. And ain't not in Judaica. Let us since you here with us today, let's expound on this. What is this definition of respectability politics is telling us, and why do you think author has referenced Marvin Gaye and Berry Gordy, in particular the song What's Going On, as it addresses this definition of respectability politics?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, respectability politics. It's not quite what it seems. That respectability is actually a negative type of behavior, it seems like, amongst our people to keep our people in place. So, you don't want to upset massa, because massa won't be able to feed you or make you rich or make you seemingly rich. So you got to stay in your lane and do what you're supposed to do, or you're going to mess up. You're going to make massa mad. Mm-hmm. And Marvin Gaye, even though he had, a lot of his songs were kind of mainstream, but What's Going On went outside the lane. And it was a social, it was a song of that time, current social occurrences, injustices. And he's saying basically, I'll tell you what's going on. Things are messed up, but I'm gonna ask that question, what's going on? Yeah. And I would imagine that mainstreamers such as Berry Gordy, who was rich and was gaining off of we call it. He was gaining off of the ability to stay in his lane, and he was rewarded for that. He probably executed that respectability politics on anyone, including Marvin Gaye, who tried to step out the lane.
Yeah, bo, yeah, bo, yeah, bo. That's now for that great analysis.
You know,
Great analysis. So there's a thing of anybody ever seen that movie, The Five Heartbeats? Anybody? Five Heartbeats?
mm-hmm.
Any of the young folks, y'all ever seen Five Heartbeats? It was a kind of fictional story, and it kind of did a unrealistic or a fictional story of like the Temptations and Four Tops and those groups. And as you see here in this picture, those groups back then were really already emulating white doo-wop scenes. And in that movie, Five Heartbeats, they was talking about, man, we got to do what we need to do to cross over. They said, what we got to cross over for? Nobody, the white folks ain't crossing over to us. We got to cross over to them, right? Why do we have to appeal to them? Why do we have to execute respectability politics? Why can't we rock the cradle a little bit? You know, why can't we address some of the things that are significant in our community just so we don't want to make white folks comfortable? I remember when Public Enemy and Poor Righteous Teachers and groups like Black Anger were really talking about Black empowerment. And some of my, white artists and white hip hop fans would say, man, I love to sing along with that stuff, but some of those lyrics talking about the white devil and the white man and so forth makes me uncomfortable. They actually said it. I used to participate in a lot of panel discussions or whatever. White folks were getting uncomfortable. And to people like Berry Gordy, it wasn't wise to make white people uncomfortable, because guess what? Who was making these people rich? Who was buying all these records? It was white folks. Who was going to play these records on the radio? White owners of radio stations and white programmers. So why rattle the boat? Why make them uncomfortable? Really quick. So the very first time that people heard Rapper's Delight, Cynthia Robinson could not get anybody in New York to play that song on the radio. One, most songs on the radio were 3-4 minutes. Rapper's Delight was like 10 minutes long, because they put them guys in the studio and they said, we're going to do what MCs do on stage. We just going to keep passing the mic. I'm going to say my piece. I'm going to say, get on the mic, one the mic, and do your thing, And so when the mic went, Master G went, Big Tank, it ended up being a 10-minute song. So they said, well, we can't get anybody, no DJs in New York to play it. So 900 miles away at WESL Radio 1490 on the AM dial, okay, some friends of Joe Robinson, a guy named Jim Gates, who was the program director for a Black-owned radio station, said, we'll play it, bring it to us, all the way down here in St. Louis. And they played it. And on the AM station, sometimes you can get it far away. And that's when it started. And it was actually a female DJ personality, right? They said, well, I'm playing all female artists right now. He said, well, all right, I'll play it. And when they played it, it blew their mind. It was being requested twice, twice an hour for 2 hours. You do the math. This thing is being played over and over again. It started to sell thousands of records. It was being placed by local distributors in mom and pop stores, mom and pop shops, right? So here it is. Cynthia Robinson is a Black radio record producer, black label. The first people to play it were Black radio stations. And the first people to distribute it was Black distributors and Black mom and pop record stores. Then there was another guy, Bobby Robinson, who started Enjoy Records, and they're not related. It just had the same name, right? So he had some relatives of his that was doing rapping too. And those relatives were called Spoonie G, LA Sunshine, Special K, and Cool Mo D, who I was talking about, who wrote this book, The 50 Greatest MCs. So now Rapper's Delight was a big deal and was putting out rap music. But then another black-owned label, Enjoy Records, also putting out rap music. Everything about the first recorded rap songs were black, right? Everything I said, the creators, the record outlets, the distributors, the buyers were all black folks. Then became the infiltration of black rap music. 1981 to 86, everybody else wanted to get in on it. Profile Records, Mercury Records, Tom Silverman with Tommy Boy Records, who was jacking up a whole lot of artists from Africa Bambaataa and Soul Sonic Force to De La Soul. They were really jipping them guys out of money. All right? So we always have to be careful when we're inviting outsiders in, because black folks was running it, we was getting money off of it, they were paying the artists, and then when white folks started to get involved, things started to really go downhill. And we do it to ourselves. Sometimes it's self-refueling and self-generating. I love Fab Five Freddy, but it was Fab Five Freddy who was a graffiti artist that wanted to be downtown. Remember, everything uptown is Harlem to the Bronx, where hip hop started. Okay, so Fab Five Freddy was like, yo, how do we get hip hop downtown? Who's downtown in Manhattan? White folks, white club goers, right? So Bull 99, also called Fab Five Freddy, he was like, well, let me bring my man Andy Warhol and Keith Haring down here to check out, you know, what hip hop is all about, right? So he's bringing his graffiti style, and they said, man, you know who Africa Bambaataa is? Yeah, I know him. Do you think you can get him downtown to spin for us? Play some music? Yeah, I can get him. So now you had Bambaataa and Grandmaster Flash and those guys in the clubs playing for white folks. And that introduced Deborah Harry, who did kind of like punk music, to now do her own version of rap music in the around 1981 called Rapture. First white girl to rap, okay? So 95% of the people in this club, it wasn't us. It was white folks. 95% of the folks in the club was white club goers, right? So Flash, Bambaataa, Grand Mixer, DST, all of them was introducing this culture, right? Again, Fab Five Freddy. Man, I really would like hip hop to blow up, become mainstream and commercialized. Remember what Willie Lett's statement said, we do it to ourselves. So he goes to Charlie Ahern and was like, yo, man, you're an up-and-coming filmmaker. You want to do a movie about hip-hop? Oh, yeah, I'd love to do a movie about hip-hop. So what do? They go up to the Bronx again. They find Chief Rocker, Busy B. Starsky, right? Yeah, you want to be part of this hip-hop movie? Busy B said, yeah, I want to be down with hip-hop. I'm going to bring you on stage and let everybody know we just sealed a contract. Right? Because you want to do a hip hop movie, then we're going to make it be known, and you want me to be part of it, I got a whole bunch of witnesses in the crowd. And we want to give our stuff away. But sometimes it's coming in disguise. Sometimes those white folks believe in you so much, they want to bring you to the world. So Deborah Harry of the group Blondie, she said she was performing on Saturday Night Live in 1981 on Valentine's Day. She said, you know what? I can do another song, but instead I'm going to bring some friends of mine, Funky 4 plus one more, down to perform a song in my place on Saturday Night Live, right? So once the Funky 4 plus one who had one of the first females in the group, they started to blow up. Here you see on the left is a flyer of what New York was like. All these groups were performing together. They were headlining. And here's the funny thing, the special guest, T.S. Monk, which was a R&B funk group, they were the special guests. They were opening up for the likes of Grandmaster Flash, Furious Five, Sugar Hill Gang, and so forth. Rap became a fad. Those are things such as cultural appropriation, right? When the dominant culture takes elements of the minorities' culture, right? And because of the presence of the power and the imbalance of power, they use it as a byproduct of the authentic culture and send it to a colonialist synthesis and make big money off of it. So here you got a comedian, Rodney Dangerfield, who is not a rapper. Now he's, oh, I'm rapping Rodney, I get no respect, no respect. Then you had the guy doing John Wayne, I'm the rapping dude, the ha. You know, I mean, that's what Biggie was talking about when he did Juicy. You remember rapping dude, the ha, you never thought hip hop would take it this far. You had Mel Brooks, who was doing Hitler, the Hitler rap. Now, Hitler, who was a Nazi, who hated black people, but it was acceptable to have a Hitler rap. To the right here, you got the New York City Breakers, because it's not all about rappers. The Breakers were being exploited as well. You can see them at the 50th inauguration of President Ronald Reagan here, 1985, who asked the New York City Breakers to come on and perform live on TV. Now, Rick Rubin gets a lot of props. Rick Rubin is a producer. Rick Rubin bought us Tila Rock. The classic hip hop song, It's Yours. But he also gave us LL Cool J and Public Enemy and the Beastie Boys, right? And he main producer for Run DMC's third album. It really took them over the top. And what took Run DMC over the top is they did a collaboration with Aerosmith. Walk this way, talk this way. So they do these songs with these white boys, and they were already large. The first rap group on MTV was Run DMC, right? Before them it was Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie, right? So here go Rick Rubin, says, now that my foot is in the door, I'm gonna bring out some more white acts. So now he got his white homeboys who were punk rockers, not hip hop. They were outsiders who now came in to assimilate the culture and get signed off by the likes of Run DMC, which Run DMC wrote some of their rhymes. And then Beastie Boys went to replace Run DMC as the #1 selling rap artist out there. And then the Beastie Boys became #1 seller. And as you see, LL Cool J, first time going platinum because he was being produced, manufactured by the musical genius of Rick Rubin. But Rick Rubin didn't waste time putting out Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know, and Blood Sugar Sex Magic, and even the old country artist Johnny Cash giving him some life back. Hip hop became big business. It was in all the commercials. They had the babies breakdancing. They got the hamsters being hip hop. They selling old English that was killing the black community. Run DMC was wearing my Adidas and caught the attention of Adidas and said, hey man, we can put some money behind you. Keep singing that my Adidas song, making me that money. The hip hop really took a turn when it came really commercial. People like Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer took hip hop to astronomical figures, selling 18 million copies. You know, Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice hit the charts, #1, right? Nobody in hip hop got on the Billboard charts as #1 for Vanilla Ice. Everybody had to work their way up to it. Hammer and Vanilla Ice both came out in 1990, right? And they really changed hip hop. Kadir, I need you to get on and read this page for me.
Can you give me 1 minute? My brothers are talking.
I don't hear them. You good. Don't worry about them. You good. We don't hear him, Kadir. He left.
All
right, he's back.
Rap at the time was seen as somewhat counterculture. Counterculture says.
Don't worry about the name.
All right. Tommy wasn't afraid of it. He thought it was hip hop. In the early 90s, Grand Pumbaa Drop Hilfiger Hilfiger in hit tracks and wore his clothes on album covers. Hilfiger fell out with the hip hop world, dogged by a rumor in the early 2000s. That he had told Oprah Winfrey he didn't want black people wearing his clothes. A strange accusation given that Hilfiger. This is the third time. I'm sorry. Third time. Hilfiger featured black artists including Aaliyah and Usher. In campaigns, he didn't formally deny the rumor until appearing on her show in 2007. The controversy was revived in 2014 when he told Bloomberg News that aligned with the hip-hop community in the 90s fueled growth but took us away from our roots.
All right. So this was something that we thought was very true. And about 7 years later, it came out that this was not true. This was what old Donald Trump liked to call fake news. Fake news or not, the point is we do a lot of stuff that benefit other people. So granted, he might have got a little money and got free clothes, but he made a lot more money for Tommy Hilfiger. He made that brand that only rich white people used to wear this stuff. Now, because Grand Pumbaa is wearing it, right? Poor black kids are breaking their neck and stressing their parents out to have these red, white, and blue clothes on with Tommy Hilfiger's name on it, right? I remember Run DMC said, Calvin Klein is no friend of mine. Don't want nobody name on my behind. I said, what happened to that? Where we are so crazy and go nuts to wear somebody else's name brand on our back. Rumors or not, we have to ask ourselves, who's pimping who? There was also a rumor about Timberland. How hip-hop co-opted a boot made for construction workers. Boy, black folks, we take anything and make it fly. We put a little swag juice on it. Little swag juice. Ain't got nothing to do with hip-hop. We take cold weather gear that's for construction workers and people that work out in the timber industry in the cold, keep them warm. We was wearing that stuff in the summertime, sweating to death. We're gonna make it look fly. All we gotta do is throw these Timbs on with it, and we're gonna rock it. So supposedly, the owners and the CEO of Timberland also said these are work boots. But let's be honest, they don't like to work. Talking about, those black people don't really like to work. Why are they wearing work boots? Right? For years, we heard these things. We heard these rumors that were being said. I remember in the Million Man March 1995, we were supposed to not shop at any stores that Monday, October 6th. We all supposed to go to March to Washington and in solidarity with our brothers and sisters and said that we're going to be better, stronger black men. Stronger for ourselves, stronger for our women, stronger for our children, stronger for our nation. And you know what a whole bunch of brothers did? There was an outlet factory in Washington, D.C., and they went and bought Timberlands. And Timberland CEO said, in one day, we made 50% of our annual profit. In one day. And it was either the day of or the day after the Million Man March. While we here, we might as well have that Timberland outlet and get some of those cream colored Timbs, you know what I'm saying? We do it to ourselves. We want to be so part of what the man has. Their establishments, their companies. We do it to ourselves. We really do it to ourselves. Akeem, go ahead and give us this conclusion of this presentation by Rosalia, her work here.
Essentially, hip hop has veered away from its original meaning due to excessive amount of commercialization in order to gain a larger fan base. However, despite this major change in aesthetics,
Yes.
okay, hip hop has evolved and become a voice for many communities aside from the Black community. It is seen everywhere from TV to video games to public service announcements and political campaigns. With this commercialization, hip-hop music has lost the social, political meaning it once possessed, but there will always be artists that still believe that it is still considered an art form and outlet for social changes.
All right. Give me a time check. Can I get a time check?
2:55, or I'm sorry, 2:25.
2:25. Woo!
I said 2:50.
We right there at it. Okay. So next week, who are those artists that will continue to push the real hip hop and use it for an outlet for social change? Because that's what she said. She said, but we know there will always be those artists, right? So next week's subject is called Resurrection of the Message. I Want You. Keen already started. He sent me a song by Jamar Milton called Ashe. This is a different Ashe song that I never heard before. And I'm like, yo, brother spitting some fire. He said his mom really likes that song. So your homework is to send me some stuff, right? That you know there's fire, that is lit. How y'all say it's lit, right? But it needs to be lit, and I would like it to have some type of social relevance as well. Have some type of message that is going to help us grow as a community and resurrect our Black mentor. All right? All right, let's hurry up and do this. I'm doing this for a reason right now, and I'll tell you in a minute. Let's look at some rhyme structure. All right? Assad. No, wait. Zion, go ahead and bust this for me real quick, Zion.
Brakes on a bus, brakes on a car, brakes to make you a superstar. Brakes to win and brakes to lose, but these here brakes will rock your shoes.
All right. So we call this an A-B structure. It's real simple. Brakes on a bus, brakes on a car. Brakes that make you a superstar. A line rhymes with the second A line. Brakes to win and brakes to lose. These here brakes will rock your shoes. B line rhymes with B line. All right? That's an A-B rhyme structure. Now, the God Rakim, we call him, he made it a little more complicated. After Rakim, before Rakim, everybody said, ooh, cool, school, tool. Associate, you got your hand up? Associate, you got your hand up? Why you got your hand up? Your earplugs in, we can't hear you.
Because I want to read that.
Okay, you go ahead and read that then.
But can you detect what's coming next from the flex of the wrist? Say indeed and I proceed, because my man made a mix. If he bleed, he won't need no Band-Aid to fix.
All right. So,
I've heard that song before.
Yeah. So we see that he is doing something more than rhyming one syllable. He's taking words like a combination of words like man, made, a mix, and making that rhyme with Band-Aid fix. So he made basically 4 words rhyme with 4 other words. So there's a reason why I'm showing you all this. Kofi, go ahead and take this this rhyme for me. Introduce us to this rhyme pattern.
Okay. One inside the wind to win, day after December 10th. These simpletons they mention for synonyms for feminine. Sweeter than some cinnamon from Danish veins by antonyms. Rush up on adrenaline, they got the asses sent to them. Gentlemen, you got a 10 minutes, well then assemble it. Leave your trembling like a herd of moving elephants.
All right. So what do we notice by all those words that's highlighted in yellow?
They all rhyme with it. They all rhyme with it. We can't hear you.
You said they all rhyme with it. I think that's what you said. What this is an example of what Rakim is doing here. So this is called multi-syllable rhymes, opposed to saying glass, class. They are doing called multi-syllables. So Most Def is making winter wind rhyme with December 10. Simpletons mentioning synonym feminine. All of these words or a combination of words have more than one syllable. Right? He made adrenaline rhyme with symptom. So even though it may not rhyme exactly, is how you enunciate it, and he makes it rhyme and finds the rhythm of the word. Gentleman, tenement, assembly. Trembling elephant, right? I put the donuts there and there because before somebody said, what is intimate? Intimates are those cheap donuts that you get at 7-Eleven. Okay. So why are we doing this? Because I want to remind you all that on November 30th is our last class. And these will be the final presentations. And for those that want to do a rap, we want to hear a presentation. And I want you to challenge yourself to see how many multi-syllables you can use if you're doing a rap. But you don't have to do a rap. You can do a poem. You don't have to do anything that's through oration. You could do a graffiti artwork, and I like to see it. And you show everybody and then be able to articulate what that piece means to you, okay? If you good at beatboxing, I like to hear beatbox presentation. If you have figured out an entrepreneurship type of way of selling something that is a good product and is good for Black people, I would like to hear that entrepreneurship project and how you doing with it, right? If you design some type of clothes, right? That's hip hop fashion. If you design something, whether it's African or it's just that swag juice all on it, I want you to share that with us, okay? Remember, hip hop is more than 4 elements. We're looking at 9 principles of hip hop, and you can use any one of those 9 principles to demonstrate to us on November the 30th, our last week, okay? All right, so that concludes the class. Remember, next Friday, I think we agreed that we're gonna do class at 11 o'clock. Are y'all still wanting to do it at that time? Kofi said yes. All right, because Kofi got some things to do.
That's good for me.
Okay. Omawale Akeem said that's good for him. Kadir, that's good for you. Did you talk to your mom? Okay. Zion, did you talk to your mom? Okay, I don't know if Zion's still with us.
Hello?
Yes, did you talk to your mom about doing it at 11 o'clock next Friday?
No, not yet.
No.
All right, I need you to talk to your mom about doing it at 11 o'clock, November the 23rd. That is the day after Thanksgiving. Okay? Okay. At 11 o'clock.
Sounds good.
All right? All right. Does anybody have any questions or anything they would like to add or speak on? All right. All right, y'all. So, Madasi, thank y'all for allowing me to present this piece of hip hop history. And just make sure
Where's that music coming from?
that we have to keep our stuff to us and not always allow ourselves to be taken advantage of. So with that, I would say, peace. If you want it, you must take it. African liberation will be before Hodiah. See y'all next week, 11 o'clock, November the 23rd. Uhuru.
Daddy. When does it end then?
11 to 12:30.
11 to what?
12:30.
12:30. 12:30. Bye.
All right. All right, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
See ya.
All right. Peace.